Good morning, everybody. Happy
Cool.
Welcome back, Fun Fam. And if you're brand new to the channel, welcome in to follow the Bradley's Fun, the Daily Dish with me, Ron E. Bradley, and a couple of other special guests coming in the house today. Speaking of the day, I hope that wherever you are having a phenomenal day, morning, afternoon, evening, night, middle of the night, whenever you're watching. If you're watching live, it should be morning. Oh, my goodness gracious me. And we just got something that I'm going to have to address very quickly here in just a minute. Thank you so much, Nita. I see it already. I will address it in just a minute. Wow, that is crazy. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. My goodness. What a way to start off the show. Thank you. And we will get to that thanks in just a moment as we say hi to everybody that is coming in the house. Hopefully you can hear me out there. I will double check. Yeah, I can hear me there, so that's good. Man, oh sakes alive. We have so much that we have to talk about this morning. And Looking over here. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Good morning to everybody that's out there. I got to get started. I got to get this ball rolling right away. I want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat. My gosh, I didn't even mention the day yet. Today is let's see if I get it right today. The 9th day of January in the year 2025. Did I get it right today? I've been getting that wrong, the date wrong the last few days. That's what happens at the beginning of the year. My gosh, my goodness gracious. Well, let's really quickly run through and say hi to everybody that's come in the door so far. And then I want to get special guests on here, and we may have more than one. Who knows? Oh my gosh. So Dan's Life at the Kingdom coming in with the Rose Bowl may also go to, I heard. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are under threat, and we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. Almost first, Erica, but you're here, and that's all that matters. Just Nita, I saw the big one. You're saying good morning, and I'm going to get to the big one in just a minute, but I appreciate it so much. Dan, would surprise me if the Rose Bowl turned down Pasadena, Altadena, Arcadia. Beautiful done. The oldest trees, oldest flowers, beautiful buildings. California is gorgeous. Literally, it's so beautiful out there, and I hate to see it on fire. It's just literally heartbreaking to me. My cousins who live near the Rose Bowl have been evacuated from their home, D.L. Fendel says, and it's ridiculously sad. You're right, Dan's Life at the Kingdom. Good morning, Erica. Tom F. says, yawn, slept in because it's cold. It is cold. It was only 40 degrees when I woke up. Yes, mine too. Family, friends evacuated from Eaton Canyon, Altadena, Palisades, Brentwood. Very sad. They all at least had a place to go, except my cousin evacuated from Palisades. There's so much chat that I want to get to. More important than the story, I want to get some personal stories. Tom F. I would like to go to the park today, but too cold for me. We've got a doctor's appointment. I don't think parks are in our day today. Although I did actually get a Guardians of the Galaxy virtual queue, but that was more of an experiment. Altadena house had to be evacuated again, and her Altadena business is burned to the ground. That is it's so tragic what's going on out there. Good morning. Still dark here, says Andy W. in the house. Tom F. Dan's Life at the Kingdom. Vinny T. says, howdy, I will be back soon. We got some kind of a sting going on in the corner, and I'm that person who has to see what's going on. LOL, be right back. That happens here, too, in my neighborhood when, like, the police are gathered, and you're like, what the heck is going on? I totally understand that. So we got like 6 cops at the corner and a bunch of cars pulled over, and just needs his hi. Vinny T. Erica is still there. I think Erica's probably still there in the background. Pink T33 says hi to everyone. Good morning. And then Tom says, you rock. This is my mom, by the way. Kathleen Fantasia. Everybody say hi to my mom. But first and foremost, now we got to get to this big one. Oh my gosh, thank you. Like, Nita, I appreciate you. You have no idea how much, not just I appreciate you, Lorena appreciates you. Everybody in our That Park Place WDW Pro community appreciates you. We are just so grateful for your support. And it's amazing we just thank you that you're out there, that you're supporting us, you're supporting the truth. And of course, what do we do on this show when somebody lends support like this? We celebrate. And I'm going to say the big celebration for the end, but we know that we love you guys, right? We love you, us, and not just me, like the whole That Park Place gang. We love you. We thank you so much. You are the energon that makes this guy able to transform and roll out of bed in the morning.
A toast, Autobots. Boy, these are good. I needed to refuel. Energy. This stuff's the greatest.
Energy. This stuff, speaking of energy, this is my Energon right here. It's actually almost the same color. It's blue. This stuff's the greatest. And then I just want to thank you so much. So anytime there's a super like this that's on the screen, super chat, super thing, super sticker, somebody becomes a member, memberships dropped, any of those types of supports, we love to celebrate you. And Nita, I hope you enjoy this celebration. We are going to celebrate right here, right now. Thank you so much. Let's celebrate. If you have your member emojis ready, get them going. Let's celebrate. And my beautiful wife, Virginia Bradley, is in the house. Thank you so much. She took care. She was in my studio last night. She took care of the studio for me on her live stream. She's doing extremely well on her channels. So please support her channels as well as Virginia Bradley Magical Adventures, where we do more Disney-related stuff, as well as Virginia Bradley Adventures. So thank you so much for that. Go and show me if you want to share those out. You're more than welcome to do that as I clear up my voice. But wait a second. I am saying yes. Thank you so much for she took it. She put everything back basically, and I appreciate that she did that. So and hanging with Erica and Raph is here, but also wait, what is that? Is somebody coming in? But what I'm surprised. It's like I've seen a ghost. Oh my gosh!
Doc, calm down, okay? Just calm down. It's me. It's Marty.
No, it can't be you. I sent you back to the future.
Hey, Doc, that's right, but I came back again. I came back from the future. Don't you remember last night? You fainted. I brought you home.
This can't be happening. You can't be here. It doesn't make sense for you to be here. I refuse to believe that you are here.
But he is.
Well, I hope
here.
I make a little more sense than that, but not much. Not much. Sense can be overdone.
How are you doing, man?
Well, I'm looking at my old neighborhood burn, and meanwhile, I woke up this morning around 4 a.m. and it was a whole 16 degrees. I rolled over, went back to bed, and by 8:30, it got up to 18 degrees.
Well,
we're expecting 6 to 8 inches of snow tomorrow down here. So, one thing is another. So.
Well, I would say that snow might be better than flames right now. So
I having lived through it once or twice, I agree. Absolutely.
Look, I have a friend out there right now, several friends who have posted, I know a lot of Hollywood people. I know a lot of California people who, Darren O'Lean, who lives in Malibu, he is the creator of a product called Shakeology, and he's on a show on Netflix. He lives out there, and he lost his house a few years ago while he was filming the Netflix show the first season, and he was overseas, and there was nothing he could do about it. And he's posting again, and it's like, gosh, you can't believe he's going through it again. It's bad out there. And
then what happens, of course, when the neighborhood burns down, as mine did, it's not just the people in their houses and all of that. It's the 7-Eleven they used to go to buy lottery tickets. It's the dry cleaner down the road. It's all these little businesses that neighborhood supported. And I tell you something, when people are left homeless and they have relatives in other parts of the country, they say, well, I'll go live with them for a while. They do not come back. They just do not come back. And so a whole ripple effect through the local economy lasts for years and years and years.
It is my understanding that as of right now, California, regardless of what happens to be happening in the Los Angeles area right now, it's my understanding that California has the most out-migration of any of the 50 states right now? I don't know if you've.
One of, certainly. I mean, no, I speak as somebody who did that in 2018. But I there's a lot of reasons to leave. Let's put it that way. And I was born there, and it was my home. And what can I say? And not only for the business, but for friends and family and everything else. But a lot of people don't go very far. I just saw where I think it's Warner Brothers is going to put a couple of $1 billion into building a studio in Vegas, so people can commute that far, so to speak. Even if the kids and the grandparents are still in Southern California, it's not much of a drive. From my old house in the Sylmar area, it was about a 4.5-hour drive, barring traffic, to the Strip. So that's not bad. Yeah, well, we're talking about Altadena. I have relatives in that area who've been evacuated. And you have to remember something about these fires when the wind is blowing. In our fire, they told us that embers, glowing hot embers the size of golf balls, would carry as far as 3 miles or more in the wind. So even though you see the concentrated area of the fires, these little fires pop up all over the place from that sort of thing. So there's that. And it's
it's weird. What was the name of the movie a few years ago? It's been quite a few years now. I'm sure probably maybe 20 years, who knows? But there was a movie that came out where a volcano came up in Los Angeles.
Inferno, was it? Or there was another one like that too?
It wasn't Dante's Peak. I think it might have come up around the same time, but it was and I don't know why I see faces in my head and not names anymore. What is his name?
It's funny what the heat will do. When we went back into our neighborhood, our house happily did not burn, but it was damaged, and we had a couple of sheds in the back that were completely verblended that they had to replace. But they told you to leave, and they told you, close up all your doors and windows so the smoke wouldn't get in. But then, of course, the fire department comes through, and to make sure you're not there, they break open the window in the back door, and then all the smoke comes in. And I don't blame them for doing it. I would want to be checked on, too. But, for example, the house across the street from us, from the outside, it looked fine, even though the house next to it completely burned to the ground. But then you went up closer. They had a big window facing that other house that burned, and it had that UV film on the glass. But when you went inside, that glass looked like taffy smashed on a countertop. The UV film was holding it together, but the window was really completely fractured. And all of these funny effects. People down the street from me had those the vinyl version of a picket fence. Looked like spaghetti from the heat.
Jeez.
Just melted, And when we pulled out of there in the smoke, in the fire, the firemen were at the front area of our community, and they were ordered, drop your hoses and run. And later, when you went back in, those heavy brass nozzles that you see on the fire hoses, they'd look like some Salvador Dali thing. They had melted from the heat. So you don't even understand what it's like until you've lived through something like that.
When years ago in Branson, Missouri, when I had first met Jimmy Osmond, he and I were working together, kind of in an outreach type of program. And one of the first families that we visited was a family that had just lost their home to a fire. And it's one of the most devastating things that can happen to anyone on an individual level, losing their house in the fire. When you multiply that times losing entire neighborhoods, subdivisions, like you said, the local 7-Eleven, the local grocery store, all of this stuff. I mean, I believe it was it a fire that took Paradise, California? Because
was it fire
that was a
slide. I don't remember, but
it was a few years ago,
Yeah.
and nearly the entire town was gone. And I had friends that were displaced from that, and it's like you literally have an entire life to rebuild. It's just scary. And yes, I did see that. It was the movie Volcano. Like when I started seeing these images of LA burning, it's what made me think of that movie called Volcano starring Tommy Lee Jones. It was actually 1997. It's been Crazy to think that it's been almost 30 years since 1997, but time does go by fast. But yeah, I mean, that because that there was actually locations in that movie that were burning in the movie that are now burning in reality, and that is so frightening.
Of course, there's some strange things that happen. You call a automated hotline thing to register with FEMA, once you're out. And for half an hour, the machine asks you questions and you answer. And then they call up and they say, we're going to have a FEMA inspector come out and look at your house to figure out, how much money, if any, they're going to give you. Now, first thing is, if you've got insurance, don't expect much from the government because they're basically there to help people with none, which is, we can debate that all day long. But I'm waiting for the inspector, and this very wiry lady, very athletic looking, but short, gets out of her little gremlin in front of the house and comes up and says, hi, I'm Gina, I'm your FEMA inspector. And she comes in, and I have a lot of really classic, rare Disney artwork. And she walks in and she looks, I had a big thing of the map from Pirates of the Caribbean right by the front door. And she looks at it and she says, oh, that brings back memories. I said, yeah, for all of us. She said, you don't understand. For about 14 years, she was Tinkerbell coming down the wire at the park. She had been an aerialist with Ringling Brothers and went to that job. And that was her prior occupation. And she said, it's a good thing I stayed in shape because after you, I got to walk up the hill behind your house and take pictures of the homeless encampment so the government can buy them a new tent. So as she's leaving, I walk her out to her car and I lean in the window and I said, Gina? She says, yes. I said, and I start applauding. And she said, what? I said, get me some money, Tink. I believe in you. I think we got
wow.
But anyway, but that's, the people you meet. You never expect to have that kind of 6 degrees of separation from.
I know. I wonder if Nita might know her. Nita, in our audience, Nita, the great donor for today. Thank you so much. She also played Snow White at Disneyland, possibly in a similar time period. Maybe not. She was later because she was in the, I think, early 80s.
This lady's name was Gina Rock. So
Gina Rock.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the Ringling Brothers connection, I actually made it into Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Clown College, but I elected to not go. I ended up, I went to Millikan University instead. Because for some reason I felt I needed to go to a real school, but I sometimes those life decisions, when I think back on them, I wonder, okay, that was one of those deciding points of my life where had I made the other choice, boy, would my life have turned out who knows how different, because I would have moved to Florida and I would have been in Florida from then on, who knows. So Equus Hart says we are here in Southern Oregon still feeling the effects of the fires that tore through Phoenix and Talent a few years ago. So the California fires are hitting very close to home. Pink 233 says it feels surreal to see LA on fire. Prayers for all of you. My mom said my parents lost their house. That's true. They my grandparents, actually their home in Arkansas burnt down to the ground one time. The biggest thing that I remember them losing is a stuffed barn owl that was a prized possession of my grandmother. I don't know if it was actually a real like taxidermy barn owl, or if she just liked owls, so she happened to have that. I remember that was like iconic for me growing up as a kid, seeing it, and I'll never see it again because it burned up in a fire. I want to get to the story real quick because these are I'm going to have questions specifically about these landmarks. Let me see if I can put this on the screen. Excuse me, my voice is, well, it's morning voice basically, and I don't want to share the audio. No, I do not. And this is out of USA Today, and of course every outlet is covering this, so you'll be able to find it pretty much anywhere, some version of the story of what's going on. But this says evacuation orders lifted after Hollywood Hills fire endangers iconic Los Angeles landmarks. And there's some video happening. Palisades fire. The bulldozer is clearing and abandoned cars on the street in Sunset Boulevard. The firemen are wearing gas masks. This is tragic. This is just you know, when you see it in the movies, it's not like real life. Like, you see it in the movie, and it's so easy to distance yourself from what that damage would be like, because your brain is going, yes, I know I'm watching this, and I also know that that's not reality. When it actually happens and it is reality, it hits so much harder. So there was a point in time in my life. It says this fire is one of several deadly fires growing in Los Angeles hills. There was a point in time in my life when I lived actually at the base of a mountain in Monroe, Utah, and Monroe Mountain was on fire. Like, I actually moved in to a place when that happened. The fire burned for, I want to say, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe, while I was there, and they finally got it out. I think it was they were able to contain it and let it, and then it burned out. But it was so weird living in a place where I would look up, go out at night, and look up and see this entire mountain on fire. I guess none of us were evacuated because they must have known that they were able to contain it. But it was like I often thought, are we okay here? Like, but the mayor of the town was saying they were okay.
You know, the other thing about the intense winds, it means that the water dropping planes and helicopters can't fly. So normally they'd be hitting the front lines of it to try and keep it from getting further with fire retardant filled water, but they can't do that in 100-mile-an-hour winds, 90-mile-an-hour winds.
No, that's crazy too. It's like hurricane level winds are carrying these fires. So out of USA Today, Los Angeles, fire activity has decreased and evacuation orders have been lifted after another fast-moving brush fire erupted in Los Angeles on Wednesday night, this time in the iconic Hollywood Hills, adding strain to firefighting efforts in Southern California. The Los Angeles Fire Department issued an evacuation order shortly after 6 p.m. local time Wednesday for portions of the Hollywood Hills, a celebrity-populated neighborhood in central Los Angeles. As of 9:45 p.m. local time, the blaze, dubbed the Sunset Fire, consumed at least 60 acres and remained 0% contained, according to CAL FIRE. Fire activity has decreased. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's West Hollywood Station said on X the fire has been updated to be 60 to 100 acres, but is now mostly burning within the perimeter. LAFD worked quickly to develop. Mandatory evacuations were issued for Laurel Canyon Boulevard on the west to Mulholland Drive on the north, to the 101 freeway on the east, down to Hollywood Boulevard on the south. Evacuating warnings were also issued for areas north of Sunset Boulevard between the city of Beverly Hills and the neighborhood of Hollywood. The majority of evacuation orders were lifted about 2 hours after they were issued, but the area of North Franklin from Camino Palmero Street to North Sierra Bonito Avenue will remain closed until Thursday morning to ensure no flare-ups endanger residents, the Los Angeles Fire Department said in its most recent update. Residents are asked to be cautious when returning to their homes because firefighters are continuing to work in their neighborhoods, Los Angeles Fire Department spokesman Margaret Stewart said in a statement. CAL FIRE said the LAFD was responding to the blaze. Los Angeles Police Department officers were deployed to Hollywood to assist with alleviating evacuation traffic, according to Mayor Karen Bass. We are working urgently to close roads, redirect traffic, and expand access for LAFD vehicles to respond to the growing fire, Bass said on a statement on X. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's West Hollywood Station advised people to keep clear of the area for emergency personnel and warned residents to be prepared, pack important documents, and gather family, children, and pets now. The city of Beverly Hills.
That idea of having a kind of a go bag of all the important stuff is very, very important.
Yeah, we are encouraged, I know, to have at least a 3-day or 72-hour emergency kit ready to go and all of those types of things. Even, you always have to prepare for hurricane season here too. The city of Beverly Hills said on X, its fire department is closely monitoring the Sunset Fire, which sparked near homes and the popular Runyon Canyon hiking trails. The city said authorities have declared parts of Beverly Hills areas north of Sunset Boulevard and east of Coldwater Canyon Drive as a voluntary evacuation zone. But
And by the way, when you hear about the city of Beverly Hills, up in the hills there at the top, there are lots of parts of Laurel Canyon and around there that are technically not in the city of Beverly Hills, but they're in a Beverly Hills zip code because the mail comes through Beverly Hills. So there's kind of a nebulous line there as far as what is and what isn't part of. Beverly Hills is only 6 square miles in total area. So there's
I want to bring in another former Los Angelite who had lived there. Please welcome to the stage, La Reina Creole. Good morning, Lorena.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, but honestly, my heart's really broken. I joke about my time living in LA, but for me, one of my biggest dreams as a kid, I was like, I want to move to California. I want to live, in Los Angeles. And I got the chance to do that. And looking at all the destruction that's going on, I didn't live not too far from there. I lived in Sherman Oaks, like right near the intersection of Sepulveda and Ventura Boulevard. And I would go down those canyon roads many, many times. And you would always see these, you knew when wildfire season was. And I was always nervous when the winds would kick up and, they'd have those.
You got to remember how dry it is. And so everything is just tinder.
Yes, and that's something that I was not used to seeing because on the East Coast you get a ton of rain, so everything's pretty much green. But living in California, so much stuff was just dry, and all it would take is just the wind kicking up and a brush fire, could start whether naturally or by someone with very, very nefarious and evil intent. And next thing you know, stuff goes up like like a tinderbox. So seeing like the fire that got started, I think like over in Studio City of all places, it is really heartbreaking, especially a lot of those old parts in Hollywood, a lot of old Hollywood history and some of that's going up in smoke. I mean, it really is heartbreaking.
Some of the mention, I know there was talk about Universal shutting down, which they did, but they're pretty good about brush clearance around their area because they got a big piece of land and it extends beyond the actual buildings and sets. When they had their fire several years ago, while I was working there, and I'll never forget walking in there the next morning and seeing the destruction of it. It was an arsonist. It was actually a member of their security force, which was at that time outsourced to a company called, are you ready? Burns Security. And this guy had lit the fire that burned down so much of Universal. But they're pretty darn good about keeping a buffer zone. Other people are not so good on brush clearance, and that's the big thing. You got to keep it away.
I heard the Getty Center was real good about that, and I was very glad to hear that because I used to drive by the Getty Center regularly. So I'm glad to hear that they had a plan intact.
Yeah, and also the villa in Malibu.
Do you know about the Skirball Cultural Center?
Yeah, I don't know what their plans are, but they're right there in the canyon too.
Yeah.
So, it's if you're careful and if you have enough, if it isn't your land, you may not be legally able to go do something about it. And that's where you kind of hope and expect that the government will do what they should. But lately it's, we have to preserve all those weeds. They're a natural treasure. Sure they are.
Now one of the things that I had heard is there's some particular. This actually goes up to Canada, I think. There's some particular type of fish that they're protecting that they cannot.
Delta smelt.
Yeah.
There's some fish that they're trying to protect, and that's the reason why they can't redirect water into the reservoirs, the mountains. What do they don't call them? Do they call them reservoirs? The big water.
I know the farmers up north, like in I want to say the Sacramento area, it's like their water was restricted because of the darn Delta smelt. So
if you drive up I-5 through the Central Valley, you'll see signs on all the farms. Hey, give us back our water.
Yes.
Yeah. It's and I've driven so my time out there. I did not live in Los Angeles. I lived in Las Vegas. I lived there from 1999 to 2002, and I went down to Los Angeles quite a bit during that time period. And the last time I was out there was, I want to say 2011. I stayed in my friend's apartment that was right across the street from Palisade Park in Santa Monica. And, I was just thinking about the hills right there, and then Santa Monica, the pier, and Venice Beach and Muscle Beach and all of that. I have heard that that's not too far away from the fires, but it's not right there.
It's not right in the midst of it. By the way, for those of you who think you've never seen the pier there in Santa Monica, if you've seen the Sting, that's where the merry-go-round building is in the Sting. Matt painted in the rest of Chicago behind it. But that building exists. So
there, I know that the pier, the Santa Monica Pier, is in it's in a lot of movies. It's in a ton of movies, and it's fun to go out there. The whole reason I'm covering this on this channel is because what we're talking about is losing places like, it looks like we're safe for like Universal Studios and stuff, but it affects these places. It affects Hollywood Boulevard. It affects
and God bless them for anticipating and closing down for a couple of days, because the last thing you would want is a park full of people that you suddenly had to get out of there again, jamming the roads and resulting maybe, if there was a fire, in that same scene we've seen in Palisades of all the cars being abandoned because of the traffic.
And what about the Walk of Fame, Hollywood Boulevard, Gromen's Chinese Theater?
Gosh, Gromen's Theater, the Formosa, this like little restaurant there in Hollywood, Chinese restaurant, which is
next to the studios. Yes.
Yeah, next to the studios. What about the Smokehouse in Burbank? Okay, I'm being facetious here, but trust me, the Smokehouse in Burbank, and Blue knows what I'm talking about.
Garlic bread, the best in the universe.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I'd never seen a spread like that in my life for like a buffet. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, but when you worked at Warner Brothers on anything, you wound up there for dinner about once a week coming across the street. But
look at some of these images. This is the Eaton fire in Altadena. Just the man trying to put it out. And then this is again Eaton fire in Altadena, California. These are a lot of people don't realize that it's not like the LA area is tremendously huge. It always takes a long time to get around because of traffic, but if there were no traffic, it wouldn't take very long to get around it. It's not a tremendously huge area. All these areas are closed.
The city of LA is 250 some odd square miles. Mm-hmm. The county is about 480. Yeah. And so when you consider it's really a state of mind that goes from out where the road peters out going to Vegas, all the way out to Palm Springs and all the way down basically to Pendleton. Yeah, it's a pretty big area, and then up to Montecito and Santa Barbara. But
as far as like Hollywood and like, I remember being out there, and yes, it's big, but as far as like driving around it, it's pretty easy to get around. In other words, these areas are close enough that anything could be affected by the wind blowing in a certain direction. As far as the fires are concerned,
carries in the wind and then drops someplace where there wasn't a fire, and boom, there's some more.
Yeah, and it's very densely populated
Right.
as well, especially that 101 corridor between oh my gosh, Ventura Boulevard. Then you've got Coldwater Canyon, Laurel Canyon. I mean, it is dense full of
Yeah, the
people.
Hollywood Bowl.
We're talking about, and for folks who don't know, this isn't like there are just houses, in the flats. You've got houses that are shoved up every square space in the hills, okay, which makes it, even
Which, of
goodness,
course, has
people.
scared a lot of people to leave because of earthquakes. I have some dear friends. He's a lawyer for one of the biggest directors in the history of directing. And they moved to Whistler in Vancouver because his wife wouldn't go back in the house. They had one of those houses on stilts. In one
The
of the
ones that slid into the.
No, this one didn't go anywhere, but they were worried it might the next time.
Oh,
You know.
okay.
But anyway, it's a wilderness out there. And aside from that, you've got coyotes wandering the streets all the time because they're coming in from the country, so to speak. At the LA Zoo, they have to take all the flamingos in the flamingo pond into a building at night. Otherwise, the coyotes would come down and get them. You're living on the edge of, nature. And it doesn't seem like it because you're in a busy city with lots of houses and people, but still, if without the water projects that originally made it possible, it's a desert. And deserts don't burn because there isn't all this stuff to burn, but you put people in houses and things.
Oh my gosh.
And
just to look at all this destruction.
You walk through there. In fact, when in our neighborhood, there were so many burnt cars that the fire chief said, well, there's got to be more dead people in here. They didn't leave. The cars are here. The people had second cars and third cars. One car, a guy I know had a very collector's item Corvette, and the firemen rolled it out of the garage and into one of the little parks in the neighborhood, so it was away from the fire. But when the fire chief said, better bring in the cadaver dogs, and they went in one house and they got a big hit. Turns out it was the woman's husband's ashes that were in an urn on the mantelpiece that fell down and broke open, and that's what the dogs were smelling. So you hear all these crazy stories, but they're all true.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of strange stuff that comes out in these situations.
Oh my gosh. Altadena, for some folks who don't know, that's a place that's got a lot of houses that have been there for
Beautiful
decades.
craftsmen and arts and crafts.
Yes.
Just gorgeous. Yeah.
Look at this is a telling photograph of firefighter sits on a chair amid the remains of a burnt structure along the PCH Pacific Coast Highway. Powerful winds and fueling devastating wildfires, forcing people to evacuate in Malibu. And Zuma Beach is one of my favorite beaches that I've ever been on. And as much as I could when I lived in that area or was down there, I would try to drive up to Zuma Beach, which is in Malibu, and it's a really nice. I actually saw a really cool out in the water. I saw a gray whale not too far off the shore there one time. It's and there's houses all around that area. It's just this is just so.
Back in the day, my wife is just reminding me when we lived in Burbank, we lived on the hill up above Burbank Airport there, just across the freeway from the airport.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the fire marshals came and said, you got to clear that hill all the way down. And we had to pay a guy to come back every year and do it. Now, I don't know if they're still doing that. And of course, we've been through a few disasters. That was one of the strangest ones, which was after 9/11, when they brought all the airplanes in the sky down anywhere they could, and Burbank Airport looked like a parking lot for airplanes. But of course, there were none taking off or landing for the first time in forever. So I've seen fire and I've seen rain. And then, of course, you have to remember, when all of this ground cover burns, the next time it rains, everything washes down the hill. And you get floods and you get mudslides. So.
Jeez. So what I want to get from both of you, since you've lived out there, what are your assessments of the likelihood of losing structures like the Hollywood sign, the Hollywood Bowl, the observatory, the Hollywood Boulevard, any of those things that, like, the area way better than I do. As you've been observing this and kind of watching what's going on, what are you seeing as far as, does it look like the fires are going to get contained before they hit any of these things? Are they going to be protected? Is it going to be okay?
Help that there's no water in the fire hydrants.
Yeah, well,
it sure doesn't.
Oh,
We could go on about the politics forever, and I don't want to get into that. But
yeah.
no, that's not what I want to get into here.
This is not a result of global warming or anything else. It's a result of mismanagement. They cut, I don't know how many $1 million it was from the budget of the LA Fire Department. They just cut personnel, and they just announced that they were hiring based on DEI standards, not on physical standards that they used to hire firemen by. So you reap what you sow.
Policy wise, none of it makes sense. I will say this about politics very, very, very quickly, because I don't really want to get into politics about this, but it bothers me that the governor talked about the person who's not even president yet, president-elect. He talked about him politicizing this situation. But we have to remember that the word politics comes from the word policy. Okay, a politician is somebody who affects policy, and policy is something that is the whole point of policies, laws. They are protect people. That's the government's job mainly, is to allow people freedom but protect them. And basically,
and that's why we pay property taxes and state income taxes in some place. That's where the money comes from.
And there's plenty. There should be plenty of money in California. What do they pay? Like 10.5% income tax?
Well, yes, there's plenty of money. However, spending it wisely where it needs to go is a different thing in and of itself. One of the things that I noticed when I first moved there, besides the 10% income tax, that's the one thing where I was like, screw this, I'm leaving the state. With just the bills that they would put, I keep calling it the Save the Whales bills, because it seemed like every other pet freaking project they want money for, save this, money for this project here, this project there. And I'm like, have you noticed where you live here in LA, and the structure and how dry it is, and nobody wants to be stuck, in a fire. I've seen the towering inferno. I'm just like, no, who wants to do that? But here's what they spend. The city of LA, I don't know what it is. I do know what it is. They just seem so ignorant. And I would say this is within the past 10 years, because 20, 30 years ago, you didn't hear about this stuff happening. You had the occasional forest fire that would break out, but it was nowhere on the level of destruction that we're seeing now. It's just like they're just completely ignorant about it. And it's so sad, because you have the people who can least afford it who wind up paying the most because of this, with their property and, the property and lives.
And just the cost of living, because...
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'll give you an idea. When we were planning to leave and move here, which is Tennessee, there's an outfit online, a wonderful website if you just want to research things about various places in America. It's called city-data.com. And in there, they have a little gizmo. You put in the zip code of where you live now and the zip code that you're thinking of moving to and an annual income figure. And they tell you, if you're making that amount here, here's what you need to have the same lifestyle in the other place, based on fuel, based on property taxes, based on all the basic stuff of life. My wife had a second job at that time that was making 75 grand. So I put in 75 grand. I put in the zip code where we lived, which at that time was Sylmar, this area that's being burned. And I put in a town called Spring City, Tennessee, which is up the river from us. For a $75,000 income in LA, you could live there for $27,000.
Wow.
Okay. Now, did you have everything that's in LA? Probably not. But for God's sakes, when it's that stark and that different,
you can save enough money to fly to LA whenever you want.
Well, see, when I left, I figured I'd go back and visit. I haven't been back since. So,
oh my goodness.
I can't bring myself to go. I want to go back. Every time I think about going back to visit, I'm just like, no, I don't think so. And I asked, my daughter, camera girl, who was born in Burbank, I'm like, do you want to go back to visit California? She's like, no.
There are definitely things that I absolutely want to go back to California for and see. And it's sad for me. There are performances in the Hollywood Bowl that I watch on, YouTube. And I'm like, man, I would love to have seen that performance live at the Hollywood Bowl. There's just some
I have so many wonderful memories of the bowl.
Same here. I've been there too, the Hollywood Bowl.
And God, I remember the greatest one was Chuck Mangione, The Children of Sanchez. Because I went to my uncle's 4th wedding, and I mentioned I was going the next day to go buy tickets. People said, get me too, get me too, get me too. We wound up with 6 boxes in a row right down front and brought food and carried on. And oh my God, was that a memory. But
very cool. It's an amazing venue. I got to get to this real quick. We have some gifties from Vinny T has gifted 5 memberships to follow the Bradley's Fun. Thank you so much, Vinny T. And for that, we got to do a little celebration.
Is it too much? Too much. It's the birthday.
Oh, this is just the best of us. Congratulations goes out to Jesus Caballo Jr., Virginia Bradley Adventures, Jeremiah Hembry, Eddie Palomo, and Florentin all receive memberships to the channel.
Fantastic.
So be sure and stick around because we will have lots of new members-only content coming up. Lou, we had to clear a fire break every year. Well worth the money, just Nita says.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And the writers of the movie Christmas with the Cranks were making fun of Hastings Ranch. It's on fire now.
No, there's so many. One of the reasons why I wanted to move to Los Angeles was to be able to go and see these places in person. I mean, like being able to drive in Beverly Hills, and in my mind, I'm recalling that scene from Beverly Hills Cop, the first one where the drive. I mean, to be able
you're looking around and you're like, wow.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, that is the Beverly Hills, police station, or all of these amazing places where iconic films were shot.
When you're born there and you grow up there, I remember my grandfather, who came over from Europe in the 1920s. And I would say, I'm going to France, or I'm going to wherever. And he'd say, yeah, but have you been to Cucamonga? Or he would say, big deal, Europe. I was born there, So it's all your perspective. It's why, for example, living in Southern California, growing up there, when I came to Disney World, the hotel that I was indifferent to, that so many people love, was the Poly. Because in Southern California, there's apartment buildings that look like that, for God's sake. With
yeah, it is.
Big fake Easter Island heads in front of them. And, poo-poo platters are everywhere, because of Don the Beachcomber and all those. Yes, the Will Rogers house burned down, Andy. It was his house in the Polo Field.
Oh, my gosh.
It's totally burned down. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what about has anybody heard anything about the Magic Castle? That was threatened.
So far so good, I believe.
Okay.
That's what you said about your first time down there. I remember my first time ever being driven into Los Angeles. I don't know that I was doing the driving, but the very first thing that I saw in downtown LA when I was driven there, I think we were going to an airport to pick somebody else up or something like that. I can't remember. This was like in 1990. I want to say it was either 98 or 99. Anyway, and it was my first time in the Los Angeles area. And the first thing that I saw was a picture window of a store showroom, and a car had crashed through that picture window. And it wasn't for them filming anything, this was an actual accident that had happened apparently just minutes before that we had gotten to that intersection. And I went, yep, I guess I'm in Los Angeles now. because it just seemed very, very LA to me.
I
from
thought
what
you
I've
were going to
seen
say
in movies.
if you were downtown that it was City Hall, which of course you knew from the old Superman series.
Yeah.
So,
No,
but,
I just remember seeing that one building that is really tall, the iconic Los Angeles building.
Yeah.
And I thought I couldn't believe it was still there because I thought it got blown up by the aliens in 1996. But yeah, it was. It's just whether despite what anybody may think of the politics or policies in California, California is a beautiful place. California has beautiful people that live there. And you know what? And I will say this: there are great people that live there on both sides of whatever aisle you want to talk about, and all kinds of different people. It's very, very eclectic, and it is truly tragic and sad that the policy affects people the way it does. But it's a gorgeous state, and I have often said, you know, if the events of 9/11 hadn't played out the way they did, I might have ended up living in the Los Angeles area because it was my plan at the time to move down there eventually from Las Vegas. In the early 2000s, I was very much into acting, and I was doing a lot of things. I was on television shows like this is little bit parts that were being filmed in Las Vegas, commercials and stuff like that. And then 9/11 happened, and it just changed my whole family life, moving back to Missouri.
I knew a lot of older people in Southern California who'd been in their house since they built it, in the 50s. And they were getting ready to retire. And where they retired to was Vegas. Because first of all, you had this house that you built for $25,000, $30,000 that was now suddenly worth $750,000 or more. Secondly, you had really, really, because so many people were retiring to Vegas, really good gerontological medicine in Las Vegas, and really good pick you up, take you to the doctor, take you back services there. And of course, you had the bingo parlor and all the things that people wanted to do. So it became a huge retirement place for people in LA. And of course, being within a ride's distance of them visiting you or you visiting them to the grandkids and the kids and all of that. On the other hand, when we were getting ready to move out, I read a story about a guy in, I think it was Palo Alto, it was somewhere up there in Silicon Valley. And he had retired from the computer biz with a lot of money. He was in on one of the big deals. And he had 5 houses. He lived in one and he rented the other 4. And he decided he was going to get out. And he went to his 4 tenant families and told them that he was going to be selling the houses and he didn't know what would happen. And they asked him where he was moving, and he was going to Colorado Springs. They wound up all moving with him. He went there and bought 5 and rented to the same people. They all got out. So,
well, when you gotta go, you gotta go. Speaking of which, we've got to get going. Let's see. One of my dearest friends spent a fretful night because of proximity to the Sunset Fire, but thankfully, they were able to extinguish that one. That is very, very good. And it looks like Go and Shogi comes in with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much for the generosity, Go and Shogi. Majority of Californians are based, hard-working people. They just aren't in front of the camera or screaming into the wind. That is so true. And we have had some great. I mean, look at this. Just Nita started us out with this super chat. Happy New Year.
Wow.
Many blessings to all in the new year. Thank you so much. We've had so much generosity. Vinny T with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. And then Go and Shogi comes in with this. Guys, we have to throw down a celebration. If you are a member, get your member emojis ready. We have to celebrate.
Too much? Too much? It's a perfect! Wahoo! Oh, that's too much! Give me a break, I couldn't be more excited! Okay, it's making me mental. But if they say yes, you can be on the show. I think I would go so crazy.
And Mr. Fulton Mraz comes in. Morning, Ron. On January 20th is my big 25th golden birthday of my quarterly of a century decade. Well, happy 25th, Mr. Fulton Mraz. A little bit early. And Vinny T wanted the Wookiee, and she was so gracious as to drop 5 memberships. So I gotta give Vinny T the Wookiee dance real quick. If you don't mind letting me indulge. There you go, Vinny T. I know you wanted the Wookiee dance, so we got to give that to you. And there you go. Yes, indeed. There it is. Wookiee woot. Hey, so Go and Shogi has dropped links for both Lou and Lorena. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. You've got it's your show, I think.
Right. But I mean, I don't have my own channel. I just show up on all of these other ones.
Well, we appreciate it. Lou, where are you going to be next?
Every Sunday at 2, Vash and I do this thing about the Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you, where we try and answer questions people have about the biz and how it really works versus how you think it works. And lately we added to that a feature we're calling the Backlot Jukebox, where because it's so complex with all the rights issues to play music on these channels, we found somebody who decided to beat it, and we just give you a link to some place that's playing music that I like from movies and TV.
Nice.
But then, of course, there's the Genre Guys. Now, the Genre Guys is Hangry Tables and Lauren and I, and we take a movie that caught our eye, our interest, and we dive deep. And we just did, what did we do? We did Rain of Fire, speaking of burning things, but we also did The Untouchables with all kinds of interesting stuff. And coming up this weekend when we record, we're trying to do 2 at a time because Hangry's got a little voyage to take coming up. And this time we're doing The Social Network, which is interesting considering the recent Zuckerberg news of dropping the censorship, supposedly. And we're also going to do Airplane. So, so anyway, you can look forward to all that. Shirley. Now, the Genre Guys stuff shows up as a perk for being a member of the Pro channel, but then 3 months later it goes freebie on T3PO. So you can see it one way, you can see it the other way, you can see it both ways if you're a member at that channel. So that's the kind of stuff I do, and then I fill in here and there for other things.
I also heard that Smuckers is sponsoring a sequel to The Untouchables, and they're going to be calling it The Uncrustables.
Oh.
They get worse. What
are you prepared to do for a lunch? What are you prepared to do?
Lorena, where can people find you on this wonderful interwebs of ours?
Oh, well, let's see. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on X, doing all kinds of stuff. And of course, you can find me on YouTube. And I always have to ask what day it is to figure out what it is that I'm going to be doing. Oh, yes, Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I'll be on Retro Nerd Girls channel for a watch party of The Empire Strikes Back. And then at 8 p.m. on my channel on Saturday, we are having a watch party for Spaceballs. So Retro Nerd Girl and I are your Saturday evening movie checks. So make sure that you all check that out.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Yes, thank you.
May the Schwartz be with you. What a world! What a world! I will definitely have to be with you guys on that if I'm either in the chat or whatever, because Spaceballs, man. I love that movie.
We did it. Genre Guys have Spaceballs too. I'm not sure when it gets to the freebie, but I know it's there on the Pro channel.
Yeah, the Spaceballs. Watch out! Watch out! And why on God's green earth are they supposedly going to make Spaceballs 2 and have Josh Gad involved with it at all? That just makes me want to open my mouth a little bit.
I don't. I feel bad for Mel Brooks because they did History of the World Part 2, which the trailer was so awful. I said, no, thank you. I do not want my memories tainted from History of the World Part 1, which is awesome.
I have such a wonderful souvenir of that movie. Do you remember the scene with the Inquisition where they
Yes,
pull
of course.
Yes.
and all those coins come out?
The Inquisition,
I have one of those
Inquisition.
coins. A friend of mine was gripping on that show. And on the
That's
coin,
awesome.
on the head side, there's a picture of Mel, and it says, "In Mel we trust."
Oh, nice.
It's about
That's great.
about moon pie size, but yeah, that's a fun little souvenir that is.
My goodness. Well, this is funny because Lockheed, it made me think of Epic Universe, which is right there next to is it Lockheed or is it something else that Epic is next to, Lorena?
Oh no, it's Lockheed. Epic bought land from Lockheed, and they also have an option
On the rest of it, right?
on the rest of it. Yes.
Not all right at once, but
It's probably going to happen though. I think I can't imagine Lockheed wanting to actually stay there with Epic Universe operating. So I have a feeling that-
Also, because the operations that Lockheed has, that's Missiles and Fire Control, which is their weapons base, and I think they've got a campus north, which is next to UCF's main campus, which they have much more land, and I think eventually they're going to be moving up that way.
Yeah. So anyhow, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for the chat. Thank you so much for the incredible generosity today from Just Nita and Vinny T and Go and Shogi. You guys are awesome. We love our audience. We love Lou Wasserman's Ghost. We love Lorena Creole. We love That Park Place and everybody out there. We are going to send you now over to Culture Casino. So everybody say hi. Let them know you came in from Follow the Bradley's Fun. And where will I be? I will be here tomorrow for the Daily Dish and creating more news commentary videos for you, as well as eventually I'm going to get back to some vlogs. But like I've said before, the vlogs this year are going to be very, very informational centered so that you are going to get something important out of them if you are traveling and you're spending your dollars. Lorraine and I are both in the same mindset that we want you spending your dollars wisely, and so we're not going to cupcake, candy coat, or pixie dust anything. We are going to give you the straight skinny on everything so that
and
you get the truth.
Like the best walk through the park people online, period. And Lorena, I
thank
love
you.
you at SeaWorld the other day with I had no idea there was that much there anymore. I don't know, but
I didn't either until I went back there, and I'm like, this is amazing, and it's a great family park and so much fun to do, especially the seals with all their personalities.
And at Christmas time, SeaWorld is the park.
Yes.
The entire park is decked out for Christmas. There's not like one little section. It's the whole darn park. It has Christmas lights on every tree everywhere. It is gorgeous at Christmas time with the sea of trees and then the ice skating at night and the fireworks and the actual story of the birth of Jesus Christ. They do not shy away from any of that. So I appreciate SeaWorld.
Whose birthday was it?
The birthday of Jesus Christ.
Oh, him. Yeah, I heard of him.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you so much, everybody. We got to get going. Sending you over to Culture. Say hi from all of us. And until next time, we will see you real soon. Thank you, everybody. Bye. Ciao.
Bye.